Meet Ant, AKA Big Skii, AKA one of the largest human beings I know. At 6'4" and nearly 3 bucks, that's 300 pounds. Ant is the Webster's Dictionary definition of a giant. Pretty opposite to me, I guess. Unless I'm in Air Force Ones, of course. You may recognize him from working with some of the industry's top artists, celebrities, and on the odd occasion, influencers.
Oh, shit!
Aside from just being this massive human, Big Ski's gone through some of the craziest experiences I've ever heard. From backstage breakouts at Rolling Loud, to bodyguarding for WRLD, ski Mask the Slump God, and Future, to surviving an absolute wreck of a car accident. He's truly been through it all. But today, we're putting him to the test with something new. Yours truly, 16-year-old Tristyn Lee's shoulder training. P.S. I'm not actually 16, guys. I'm gonna try not to talk to the camera too much today and just get focused because I have to stand next to him, so I have to get a crazy pump.
I gotta stand next to you, that's the problem.
It's not what it looks like. We started with a movement named quite fittingly for Ant, the Viking press. A little bit taller and he likely would have pushed the machine right over. Using movements like this to warm up can be extremely beneficial, seeing as they don't require a ton of coordination or setup when compared to a more complicated movement like a dumbbell press. Being that Ant is so tall and I'm so short, I know you guys are gonna eat that up in the comment section, we had to make a few adjustments to the machine. Mainly the fact that we had to jump from pretty much the tallest setting for Ant to the small setting for myself. We'll do 4 or 5 sets here and just get warm. We'll work up in our weight. It's good because it's not really free weights and stuff, so you don't risk any injury. You can just control it, and so. With most of my workouts, I'll generally start with a machine that requires less internal stabilization. This movement still does require some internal stability, but we're able to drive output quite high without risking too much injury, and I was able to work up to about 3 plates. As we got into the workout, I quickly realized that 300-pound bodyguards don't play around when it comes to strength. Moving 3 wheels this easily in a warm-up set truly shouldn't be legal. Ant worked up quickly, getting up to 4 plates for his top set. Can you go off one?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yes, 4 plates. Throughout this movement, we were aiming for 12 to 15 reps. In my later sets, I only hit 10 to 12. Generally, I'll use slightly higher volume in my earlier motions to make sure that I am getting blood in and around the muscles, joints, tendons, ligaments, and make sure that I'm not risking injury. But as we went through the workout, we shifted our rep ranges around to see what works best for Ant. Essentially what we're gonna do with pretty much all the movements is work up as quickly as possible to our top weight.
Difficult. Always on the go, always moving. It's hard.
Being the bodyguard of so many amazing celebrities, influencers, and artists seems to be so glamorous from an outsider's perspective. But Ant explained to us how it's far from it. Although he does get to meet tons of cool people, it can be extremely difficult to maintain his workout and food regimen while on the road, oftentimes spending 4 to 5 days awake without any chance to sleep. Making gains without sleep is extremely difficult, especially when you're surrounded by a bunch of party animals who are out late, drinking, partying, going crazy on stage, and doing just about every wild thing you could think of. It's borderline impossible to make progress, and you notice it more than anyone else.
The mirror is a monster. Huh. Like I look in the mirror and I be like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I gotta get in the gym.
I know. I tried my best to spot Ant. Probably not the best decision. Considering his arms are the size of my body, I wasn't really able to do much. My guess would be that one of his arms weighs as much as I do, but that's just a guess.
Going down now to LA, that's why it was a must that I find like a trainer, because I'm gonna be definitely flying Gio in.
If you're wondering who Ant is talking about, this is Gio, Ant's training partner from back home. Similar to me, Gio isn't the tallest in stature, but he's got some of the craziest strength I've ever seen.
You know, Gio he get me mentally. Like when I feel like I want to stop, he's like, you ain't tired. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. And I go the extra. So I just want to get my body to a point, man, where it's been before, but I want to push past that point.
Having a training partner to push you through when you just don't have anything left is very important. Although I do enjoy training alone most times, when you have someone pushing you past failure, you gain a much better sense of your true pain threshold and what absolute failure really means. To put it simple, get yourself someone that makes you feel like a puppy every time you finish a set, but still keeps training with you. That's the true gym bro spirit, and I think Gio's got that. Try to lead with your elbows, so keep your pressure on your elbows and not your hands. Okay. So like, yeah. This is definitely a good machine as well as you get into the latter portion of your workout since it has more external stabilization. The one thing I can definitely say though, is fitting into machines when you're 6'4" and that big of a human being can be difficult. I guess there are some downsides to being tall, and upsides to being short, if you're like me. On this, we decided to aim for the 12 to 15 mark again. Training in higher volumes seemed to work really well with Ant, especially as he was figuring out how each machine works. If you're a beginner lifter, not that Ant is, he certainly isn't, I suggest doing a similar thing until you gain a better sense of proprioception or your body's ability to sense movement. Essentially what I'm saying is get a feel for each exercise before jumping and trying to press the heaviest weight on the stack. After finishing up the machine lateral raises, we jumped to a reverse pec deck. I figured this would be slightly better than a bent over rear delt fly since Ant's back was giving him a little bit of trouble. I still ended up doing some rear delt flies bent over at the end. Pause, but that's just because I wanted to do it for the video really. What we're focusing on here is pressing forward as much as possible and utilizing the machine that has the different resistance profiles. Considered any of these pieces for like your gym, like it'll load heavier in the end range of the motion where you're stronger, and then it gets lighter as you pull through to your weaker portion of the motion. So I figured I'd give him a chance to try out some of the different pieces with the cool different resistance profiles and alternative methods of training. I'm almost driving forward like I'm doing like a chest press or something. So if I push here and think about reaching towards the machine as much as possible, and then I keep that position and just drive only from my elbows and wrap them around my body. Essentially all we're trying to do is disengage our traps as much as possible in the earlier reps of our set, but allow for enough wiggle room that we can progressively overload as we go through our training session. Like I'm focused on driving myself forward versus if I set back like this, I'm going to be more likely to retract and drive from my traps rather than from my rear delts. So if I sit here, push into it, almost like all my body weight's pushing forward in that motion.
And it's 100% like all rear delt.
100%. In my latter reps, you may notice that my traps do start to take over to a certain extent. This isn't really an issue, and this is the difference between bias versus isolation. When talking with Dr. Jordan Shallow, this is something that he really emphasized. It's better to bias a particular muscle group, even if that means that another muscle group is engaged, if you're able to drive output to a certain point that provides additional stimulus. Too much science? Probably, but it's still worth noting. After that, we jumped into some dumbbell front raises, and I supersetted that with bent over rear delt flies. Not the best position to be in, but you know, sometimes we gotta be there. With regards to the front raises, generally I'll use a cable rather than dumbbells because it takes the tension off the bicep tendon. When you use a dumbbell, the movement arm causes the weight to be heaviest in your most compromised position at the top and furthest away from your body. Whereas if you're using a cable, you're able to stay on a plane that keeps directly in line with your front delt and keeps the tension there. But since Ant's back was hurting at some points, we decided to use a seated motion that maybe would require a little bit less internal stability. After finishing up the workout, we got to know a little bit more about Ant and some of the crazy stories he's been through, so I'll let him explain.
So I had a bad accident. Well, I didn't walk for like 2 years. I got crushed between two cars. I was helping somebody on the side of the road. I just saw somebody on the side of the road and I pulled over to help him. And I was in the emergency lane, and drunk driver, he didn't know he was in the emergency lane. So they had an old Caprice, and we was putting the gas in the back. You just pull the tag down and put it back in, and he didn't know he was in the emergency lane. It crushed me between both cars. It took me about a year to move my toe. I had 2 open fractures. Bone came out here, bone came out like cartilage bone in my ankle. They wanted to amputate one of my legs, so it's hard for me to do like lunges. And since the accident, like squats, I just ain't never trusted them. When I try to squat, it's like, I don't know, it's just, it never felt right. Yeah. Gio would always have me do like, you know, just leg press. And I got up to like 12 plates, 12, 15 reps. I mean, my legs are pretty strong, but I haven't worked them now in God knows how long. He's tired of skiing, and he broke his femur in butterfly fracture, so it's split right when he went off a like massive jump. Smashed it, had to get a metal rod put in his leg, and he had to do the whole, I got a rod and screws in. So you guys can relate. This one, you know, going through TSA. Oh yeah. I don't have any metal in this one, but like I said, the cartilage and all this came out. Bone came out right here, and this open fracture here, open fracture here. That sounds a little bit worse than yours. So I'm sorry, but I think he has you beat on this one. you know, it made me like working out. Because he had a goal to reach, man. I couldn't see myself not walking. Like and the guy who got hit with me, my injuries were worse, and he actually let them take one of his legs, so he has a prosthetic. But I don't know. Mentally, I wasn't prepared to do it. Yeah, I couldn't force it. I couldn't see it. I'm like, nah, I think let me just try to work on it. You know what I mean? Once you're in the gym, man, like all the little pains and things you have, like go away. Yeah. Like if your knee hurt, you know, you in the gym, you might strengthen your quad or your calf, and it might take away that little pain because it's, you know, it's helping it. It probably always been there, but you was working on your legs, so it kind of, you know, compensated. You didn't feel the pain because everything else around it was strong.
At the end of the day, whether you're a 300-pound bodyguard or 140-pound bodybuilder like myself, the only true difference in the way that I would train is working around the difficulties of being that tall and trying to fit into tiny machines. One of the main takeaways that I would say that you guys can take from this video is the fact that Ant still finds a way to make it into the gym. Even when he's been up for 4 to 5 days straight, had 0 sleep, and is off track with his nutrition, he still finds a way to get it in. I know we tried a little bit different style video today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Our pre-workout and pump products are still available as well if you'd like to give those a shot. Make sure you leave a like and drop a comment down below what videos you'd like to see next. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll catch you in the next one.